things theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly, without an apology. Gotta give that theology to God, hallowed be, cause this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
Yo, grace and peace. Welcome back to an episode of All Things Theology, where this is your host, K-Dub, and today we got to talk about it. Breaking news, Joni Lamb has decided to speak out and address some of these allegations. We're going to play it all. We're going to talk about it. Let's get into it, guys.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes today to speak from my heart to the Daystar family and friends. Recently, Daystar made the decision to terminate my son, Jonathan Lamb's employment. That decision was not taken lightly. It followed a 15-month review of Jonathan's performance and his refusal to take any steps to satisfy a detailed performance improvement plan put in place. He also refused my offer to participate in a formal mediation to resolve grievances in a biblical and professional manner. Rather than take any steps to improve his performance at Daystar, it seems clear now that Jonathan was focused on fabricating a smear campaign. You see, Jonathan was extremely disappointed that he was not named the future president of Daystar following the death of his father and my husband, Marcus Lamb, despite the fact that Marcus had given a clear directive to the family and to the board that I would succeed him as president. Jonathan's disappointment in not getting his way only deepened when I married Dr. Doug Weiss, who has been such a blessing to me, the rest of my family, and Daystar. I can tell you that as a mother, as a grandmother, this situation saddens me deeply, and it grieves my heart because I love my family. I love all my children. I love my grandchildren. I love the work we've done together for so many years. And I had hoped that we could have resolved the situation in private. But now, Jonathan has given me no choice except to speak out. Everyone knows that we have dedicated our lives to spreading the love of Jesus, and to see it attacked by my son Jonathan and his wife is truly heartbreaking. I want to assure you that all the allegations that are circulating against myself and my late husband are completely false. We have already begun to take legal steps to defend ourselves, and we will address the accusations in a God-honoring way. We stand firm in our faith, knowing that God is with us, and his purpose for Daystar is far greater than any present challenge we may be facing. While this attack is very painful and wrong, I know that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against a spiritual enemy who seeks to destroy and divide no matter what the cost. I want to ask you for your prayers. Thank you for your continued love and support. Our team here at Daystar will keep you updated. Again, thank you for your prayers. God bless you.
Wow. What do you guys think? Drop your comments in the comment section. We got some more to talk about. We're not done. Man, I think there's a bunch of interesting comments she made. I'll share a few of them because it's like, okay, she's denying the allegations. But what about the part of the story where, you guys try to make him sign an NDA deal? I mean, these guys, the Lambs, that is Jonathan and Susie, they have some evidence they presented. We're going to get into some of that where, man, you guys were spiritually abusing family members. I mean, and here's the thing. They better hope that 5-year-old girl at the time, she's probably about 8 or 9, does not remember anything. Because if that girl starts to speak, the whole Daystar thing is getting shut down all the way. I want to talk about an article, though. Let's get into it because it gets in some of these things some further. Let's read this article. It says, during their time at Daystar, former Vice President Jonathan Lamb and his wife, Susie Lamb, as they were repeatedly spiritually abused and bullied by Jonathan's mother, Daystar President of Joni Lamb, and her allies. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. That woman looks like a woman who is, I mean, what you read doesn't seem genuine. You heard the kind of little fake cry in there, like, it just hurts my family. It's like, okay. And here's what doesn't make sense. Why would Jonathan Lamb try to ruin all this and get fired and have no job, ministry gone? It doesn't seemingly make a lot of sense from his perspective. But anyways, it says most blatantly, they say Joni ambushed the couple by bringing in Christian heavy hitter Jimmy Evans, founder of XO Marriage, for a meeting on July 11th, 2023. Not only did Joni shame her son by telling him his wife had him by the man's parts, right? But even Evans pressured Jonathan to submit to his mother, claiming she had God-like authority. My goodness, this is bad. Submission means she is the voice of God to you. And unfortunately, a lot of these charismatic circles operate on this kind of submitting to the leader, submitting to God is kind of a synonymous, right? But Evans told Jonathan and Susie on a recording the couple gave to TRR. "I'm sorry, can you clarify?" Jonathan asked. "She's the voice of God to me." "She's the voice of God to you," Evans said. Wow, this is terrible. Says, "So I can't hear from God, I have to hear from her?" Jonathan asked. "Outside of Daystar," Evans replied, "what she says is God in Daystar. This is the voice of God in Daystar." It's terrible. You know, so much abuse of authority goes on when that's the view of the leader. I mean, this is very cult-like as well. I mean, you can get into some of the aspects of that, which are generally used by cult tactics. You know, now you don't disagree with the leader. Let's continue on. It says the contentious meeting came about 2 years after Jonathan caught a family member in a compromising situation with his daughter and accused him of SA the girl. Right, we've gone over that. They defended him. This caused a major rift in the family, but a few weeks later, in late August 2021, Marcus told Jonathan, his brother-in-law, Jonathan Weiss, that an internal investigation had cleared the family member. The couple found out much later about the critical deficiencies in the investigation. Then in Marcus 2021, Marcus, that's Lamb, Joni's former husband, unexpectedly, he died from complications related to COVID. Now, here's my suggestion. There needs to be a third-party investigation that is neutral to both parties, right? They're not on the side of Joni. They're not on the side of Jonathan and his wife. They're just going to report the facts, and hey, whatever comes of that, right? That's what I believe should happen. But clearly the person they first hired was not neutral and did a lousy investigation. We talked about that on last video. Let's keep going. On June 10th, 2023, Joni married Doug Weiss, a sex therapist and repeat guest on Daystar TV, who's no relation to J.W. Weiss. Doug Weiss had filed for divorce from his wife of 30 years on January 27th, 2022, just 2 months after Marcus died. I mean, there's so much mess in this story. There's so much mess. I'm sure as I say in every video, it's going to get messier. According to Jonathan Susie, the meeting with Evans in July 2023 was an attempt to bully the couple into publicly supporting Joni's second marriage. So apparently they were not in support of this marriage. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be either. Anyways, according to Jonathan and Susie, none of Joni's kids or their spouses agreed with Joni's marriage to Weiss. They all believe Weiss lacked biblical grounds for divorcing his wife and that by marrying him, Joni was committing adultery. That's none of my business, but I'm wondering why they believe that. That's my only curiosity. Just 2 months before the wedding, a longtime friend of Daystar, Dennis Bogues of Living Waters Ministry, wrote an impassioned letter to Joni's family urging them to intervene. Bogues not only knew Joni well, but also counseled Doug Weiss and Lisa Weiss just prior to their divorce. Well, this lady probably knows a lot, right? Bogues wrote that she voiced concerns about Weiss to Joni, but she refused to hear me. Now, Bogues said Joni was under a spirit of deception due to Weiss's influence. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He is no caliber for such a high platform. Wow. She added, Joni didn't endorse divorce until she came under his deception. Using the Daystar platform, the enemy has successfully mocked the marriage covenant using one of the strongest Christian TV networks in the nation. Wow. Jonathan told TRR that he gathered his family to confront Joni 2 days after receiving the letter, but Joni allowed each person no more than 60 seconds to share their heart. Says all she sees from us is fear and rushes out of the door to go fly off to New York with Doug. After Joni and Doug Weiss were married, Jonathan and Susie remained uneasy about the marriage, but on July 5th, 2023, they were asked to read a viewer comment on air, praising Joni's recent marriage to Weiss. I wonder where that came from, right? The couple refused to do so because they felt it would give tacit approval to the marriage. Yeah, sure would. Their refusal apparently deeply offended Joni. Now, who has all the motivation to kick Jonathan and Susie out? I mean, you're seeing real here motivations for outing Jonathan and Susie right here. Not his hunger and desire for being president. I'm not saying he didn't want this, but right now you just see the motivation being a lot on her, right? Anyways, this prompted the meeting with Evans, in which Evans and Joni equated Joni's wishes with God and Jonathan and Susie opposition with Satan. Yeah, that's all. That always works out, right? Let's keep going. Yeah. So on this recorded meeting, I apparently there's this recorded meeting out there. Hey, look, I bet this will get leaked. I bet it will get leaked. But let's listen to what the alleged recording says. On the recording of the meeting, Evans asked Jonathan, if God came to you right now, and he is, saying you made a mistake, would you correct it? And that's exactly what's happening. You see even the misleading of the question. This is question begging, literally one-on-one. But, of course, without question, Jonathan replies. He says, but you're not. No, but God didn't appear. He didn't speak audibly, Jonathan says. God has spoken to you, Joni erupts. He spoke to you through me. He spoke to you through Jimmy. Jonathan says, you're not God. But we're God representative, Evans says. We're God's representative, Joni repeats. Joni and Evans also appeal to their ministry experience as a basis of their authority over Jonathan and Susie. I mean, you see that even right here going on. Just the authority, putting authority there. I mean, just heavy-handedness authority, right? You've got 80 years of experience sitting right here talking to you. It's a spirit, Jonathan. It's a spirit that you won't listen not just to authority, but to experience. Yeah. Did you pastor for 41 years and work with marriages? Joni adds. I don't think so. You have about a thumbnail of experience compared to us. Let me just say this biblically. She shouldn't have been pastoring. There's a whole nother issue right there, right? Elsewhere in their meeting, Jonathan inquires who has authority over Joni. That's a great question. What accountability does she have if she's off? So, well, she has a husband. She has a board. Jonathan replies, I'm on the board. So, yeah, by that virtue, he has authority over her, right? At the time, only people on Daystar's board were Jonathan, Joni, and Tom Callender, a lawyer and Joni's longtime friend, Jonathan told TRR. He says, yeah, but individually, you're not her accountability. Individually, you're an employee, Evans says. She's the voice of God in Daystar. I mean, this is cultic. I mean, there's no other way to describe this but to call it what it is and to call this stuff cultic. He said, there's no other accountability at Daystar, Jonathan complained. Then Evans appeals the scripture saying, Romans 13 tells us to submit to authority. You even see how they misuse in scripture because it's all established by God. Jonathan again ejects. No, but I'm saying who is her accountability at Daystar? That's a great question. He says, but that's not your concern. You see, it's concern for Jonathan, but it's not concern when it's for Joni. You see, no even scales. Your concern is to do what she says. Do what she says, and if you can't be here. Then Joni interjects. Tell him what the Lord told you about stubbornness, what it leads to. Notice the constant appeal, though, and the misquoted text or the misused text of Romans 13. It's a lot of appeal to experience. It's a lot of appeal to the voice of God, which can't be confirmed by, just saying, yeah, okay, he said it, right? He says, what the Bible says, this was related to Saul, that rebellion is the sin of witchcraft, Evans says, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. And so it equates stubbornness with being in idol worship. And the reason it does is because stubbornness is the worship of your own opinion. And that's what you're doing. You're being stubborn. You're making an idol out of your own opinion related to Doug, that is Weiss. Notice they have biblical concerns and it's just being called stubborn. But they're not being stubborn, right? You see, this is so much gaslighting. Elsewhere in the meeting, Joni similarly accuses Jonathan of making his opinion an idol and warns him of the consequences. God wouldn't be pleased with this, Joni says, if you've opened up yourself, both of you, to demonic activity in your family and with your kids by your rebellion against me. Now, who is appearing as God in this situation, which is literally idolatry, right? I mean, Jonathan and Susie objected, saying it's not rebellion. It is rebellion. You'll bring a curse upon you and your kids. I mean, so much gaslighting, threats, right? At one point in the meeting, Joni accuses Susie of being led by her feelings and points to the sex abuse allegations from 2021 as an example of how unreliable Susie's feelings are. I mean, this woman, she doesn't care anything about going below the belt. Says there was an issue with a family member, and I'm not going to tell you that because I know they wouldn't want me to share it, Joni tells. But Susie was completely convinced, and Jonathan was completely convinced that this family member was doing something that he was innocent of. And it was a terrible thing to happen in our family, but she drove that thing for a lot. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same. It's terrible. It is very terrible. The conflicts reaches a crescendo 15 minutes later with Joni and Susie going head to head about Susie refusing to read the viewer comment. If I'm not comfortable, then I have to stick with my convictions, Susie tells Joni. It's not your right to agree or disagree with it. If a viewer has a comment about me or you or anybody else, it's a nice comment. That's a good thing to read. It doesn't have anything to do with you. You're reading a viewer comment. I mean, this woman's petty. This woman's super petty. She says, I'm representing it. It's a lie. Yeah, I mean, if you were to read the comment, you would be sharing some kind of consent to it. She said, you're not representing anything. I'm reading it. It's not a lie. It is a lie. If I say something, if it's a lie if I say something I don't believe. Yeah, that would be true. I mean, you can see this. I mean, even just from the writing here, it's just a heated, contentious meeting. Yeah, they keep going back and forth, right? I don't, blah, blah, blah. Then Joni says, don't come back then. You're gone. You're fired. If you can't read a nice comment about Doug, I don't want you here. You won't do the green room. You won't do anything. So notice why she got fired. She didn't want to read a comment that she didn't agree with. So petty. After Susie is fired, Jimmy and Joni turn their attention to Jonathan, asking if he'd read the comment if asked to do so again. Repeatedly, Jonathan asks Joni to respect his wishes. All I want to hear is that you submit to my authority. That's all I want. Or rather, says that's all. I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to hear about your personal convictions. So notice, this has nothing to do with just job This has nothing to do with job performance because they make it seem like Jonathan was coming in to work drunk every day, right? They were making it seem like this man couldn't do his job for nothing. He didn't want to read one comment, him and his wife. Jonathan says he will submit to Joni. But when Evans asks if that would mean Jonathan would read the comment if asked to read it today, there's a long pause. Then Jonathan says, see, now you're in trouble with her. Susie objects to being made some bad guy. Then Joni says, you are bad, Susie. You got him by the man's parts, and you know it. Babe, they're really scary, Susie says to Jonathan. They think horrible things. I've got you by the man's part? Who talks like this? That's right. Who does talk like this? You gave him a look. I gave him a look of pity. You're cornering him. This is so evil. What is happening? Joni replies, no, what is evil is you. What's evil is you and the spirit that's driving you. At the end of the meeting, Susie appears to leave the room, leaving Jonathan alone with him and his mom. I mean, this doesn't even seem real, right? Joni encourages Jonathan to draw the line in the sand with Susie. You're going to pay hell for it, but stand your ground. I mean, notice what he's saying. Notice what Joni is telling Jonathan to do. To oppose his wife. I mean, how demonic is that? Joni tells his mother that he and Susie are on the same page. Good for you, man. But she appears to not hear what he said. You're about to catch hell, so you handle her. You're her covering. Handle her. Then speaking to Evans, Joni says, this is going to be his Alamo, so he's going to handle it and handle her or not. But I can handle him. This will probably decide your leadership role here at Daystar. How you handle that. No, again, this is a recording they have. This is a recording they have. And Joni's going on talking about these allegations like she didn't say like any of this, and she's saying it was all because of his performance. She didn't bring this up, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I mean, there's so much here, right? He got fired because of this. I'll let you guys read the rest of this article because there's so much there. I don't want to bore you guys with me reading this, but man, Daystar is done. The theological mess, the practical mess of this, Daystar is done. And it's unfortunate. I mean, that the rise to power will make people even oppose their own family. Their own family. Like, how could you do this to your own family? To people in general, but to your own family. It's highly disturbing. But again, I'm sure more will come out as I've been saying about this. Hope this video was educational. Till the next time, grace and peace. Oh, grace and peace. Thank you for watching another episode of All Things Theology. If you enjoyed what you heard today, go on and give me a like. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. I promise to give you weekly lives, videos, interactions, exposing false teachers, sharing with you, the viewer, my theological beliefs, things about the culture, and the Bible. So if you're here for that, come on and join us. Also, if you would like to support this channel financially, you can do so by becoming a Patreon member or a YouTube member. Links are in the description below. You can see content before it drops. You can also have Q&A sessions with also other Patreon members, YouTube members as well. So if you would like that, hit the description link in below.